after World's Strongest Man, I think we kind of had a chat and we were looking to see, like, obviously at the new athletes that came through.
And on top of it, we saw a podcast as well.
We saw a new podcast.
Yeah, that gave us a bit of a idea on this specific topic.
On this topic, yeah, because as well as looking at the athletes after Worlds, and then at the time that this podcast came out,
yeah,
it kind of, I think we've been chatting about this for a long time.
Yes, but we never made a video.
Never made a video, and it's probably a good time, I suppose, to do it. So we're talking about Derek from More Place, More Dates. He's back after, like, 6 or 7 months of a hiatus, maybe longer.
Maybe longer, yeah.
He had a podcast with Stan Efferding, and it was really long and a very, I suppose, thorough podcast.
Was it 2 hours, 45 minutes?
Very long podcast. Yeah. But for people that don't know, Stan Efferding is probably one of the well-known guys at the moment, I suppose, when it comes to diets and nutrition and things like this.
Yeah.
He invented the vertical diet.
Yeah.
He's Derek from More Place, More Dates actually used to use it, and I didn't realise at the time, but he's after obviously having a good bit of dealings with Strongman. And you were saying before he obviously did.
He worked with the Brian Shaw. I think he might be still working with the Hafthor Bjornsson.
And even more recently now, Mitchell Hooper.
Mitchell Hooper as well asked him to help with the diet and stuff like that. And especially Mitch Hooper is kind of trying to stay athletic and what's the word? Probably lean enough, not to be too chubby.
I suppose athletic is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Because even himself, like, he's put up a couple of videos talking about, obviously, strongmen to answering questions. I think his most recent videos been put on YouTube, and even in that he was saying that, like, he doesn't consider himself a strongman as such. He considers himself an athlete, because he's competed in so many sports growing up. And I'd say you could say that with a lot of strongmen. Like, strongmen don't just go to strongman, like, they always compete in something else.
Even Big Z, he I think he never sort of played sports as such growing up. He's from a very young age he started doing powerlifting, and then he transitioned into strongman. And he managed to do really well. So as much as he's a sort of a guy who just did lifting and didn't do any like basketball or soccer or track and field things, he did really well in strongman sport. Like, you know, like Mitch Hooper, we know he's a lot into his cardio. He did marathon running. He did marathons. Novikov as well. You see, he does like a separate, like, though he started strongman very early, like I think 17 or 18.
Very young, yeah.
Yeah, but he does a lot of these sort of sessions where he's doing skipping and balancing things, you know. So it kind of like, I think, benefits him as well when it comes to strongman. But Brian Shaw, basketball player,
college basketball player, yeah.
Hafthor Bjornsson, basketball player. Who else do we have?
Eddie Hall was swimming.
Eddie Hall was swimming.
Look, there's so many athletes that, like, obviously the transition into strongman is not as, look, ideally it's probably when you're a bit older, I suppose it's probably a better sport for you. When you're younger, like, obviously your tendons obviously aren't as strong, you don't have the strength base and things like this.
Did Mateusz started strongman straight away as well, I think.
Yeah,
but he's just freaky.
He's just a Terminator.
Yeah, he's just freaky.
But even at that, like, Mitchell as well, answering the questions, he said himself, like, it's probably, like I said, he's ideal for an older kind of age base, because you obviously need to be fully developed and you need to have a good strength start. But there's no point in you starting strongman and you're only benching 40 kilos or squatting 100 kilos or something. You know, you kind of have to have a good strength base to start loading your body, because obviously your bones and your tendons need to be strong. Like, you need to have a solid base.
So that said, nowadays it seems like the guys are not really trying to be at the heaviest when they're competing.
Yeah. Again, like, that's what we're saying. Like, so that's why the main topic of the video is like, this is why we're saying about the athletic backgrounds as such.
Even Tom, he was going towards being a bit more into like chubby side. Like
last year.
Yeah. So in the last couple of years, he used to have like a side of kind of visible abs, and now it just like 2 years ago he started losing that, like, you know. And
after the first World's Strongest Man title, I suppose, is when he started.
It kind of went away, but now he's like back being a champion, and it doesn't seem like he's doing a lot of sort of calorie consumption as per se, because he doesn't look like he's that much more heavier than he was last year or a year before. Like, you know, maybe he's more muscular.
He's doing a lot more running.
Yeah.
See, he did a 5K with Luke Stallman.
Yeah, like he was like, you know, like one guy in the comment section as well. I had a bit of like back and forward, and he says that kind of Tom Stallman won the World's Strongest Man because of the running. As like, what's the saying? Correlation doesn't mean causation. So to me, it's like he won two titles without running, and he finished last year finished second as well, and this year because of running he won the third one. It's like, dude, I don't know, like
Just
so.
look, there's so many ways of looking at it, but
Yeah.
I really think at the moment, I'd say realistically, in the last year and a half, we've seen a major change in strongmen in that they've really focused on being more athletic, and the body weight has kind of came down. Like we see. Like Bobby Thompson was always a heavy guy when he came onto the scene after winning the Ireland Amateurs. Like he was heavy. He now has a 6-pack.
Mm-hmm.
You see Mitchell Hooper at the moment. His big thing is that he's trying to put on weight, but without putting on body fat.
I think after Eddie and Big Z was probably the guy that everyone looked at, and he had like a massive belly and
Power belly.
Yeah, power belly, and everybody thought that you need to. I was one of them, thinking that that's what you need to have to be a great strongman, So, and then I think Brian was playing that game too. I think at some point he was like 210 or even more. In 2017, World's Strongest Man, he was like
Huge.
humongous. So, and Thor was big as well. Everyone was doing that sort of
Gavin Bilton was heavy at one stage. Yeah.
So all the strongmen, but now it seems like there's a shift. More people are concerned about their longevity, and they understand that there's life after the sport as well. So you don't need to be maybe that heavy, because you might feel okay now, but like after years,
4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, so you might start feeling that, burden on your body, So.
But even at that, like you see, they're doing a lot of. You see, like they're going into doing the cold plunge and stuff like that, doing saunas.
But that's mainly thanks to Brian Shaw.
Yeah, the red light therapy is another one. Like,
so
I think Brian, realistically, now obviously after a couple of years and things like this, but he's the one that's kind of made it athletic. He's the one after making it, I hate to say it, but a real sport as such. Like.
Yeah, and he's the one who started to look at the sport like really professionally. Like, there was Big Z, but Big Z was never sort of... I don't know, classed as being very sort of professionally, even when it comes to like spreading his knowledge as such, like only when Brian Shaw started to become like as big as Big Z when it comes to the mainstream strongman sport, he started to say like how he's emphasizing recovery, how he's emphasizing stretching, dynamic stretching. He's always having rubber bands with him, like when he's warming up properly. That stuff, The sport wasn't that, I don't know, seriously taken as such.
But it's, like at the moment now, it's. I think it's in a very good place. Like it's getting even better. Like we see, like when it's on the stage now, I hate to say it, like when it's on the stage with CrossFit, like CrossFit. It is a bigger sport, there's no point saying it isn't, but like we see that CrossFit is very scientific based when it comes to like the technique for lifting. Obviously when you're doing the marathon runs and the rows and stuff, you're kind of counting your pace, like it's very scientific.
There's a lot of like these Whoop things that wrist wearables,
that's
so
getting very big.
So they give you the whole data when you overtrain and stuff like that. Before, nobody like sort of looked at it that way, and maybe it's a little bit, I don't know. Athletes are getting stronger. It doesn't seem that
but they're not getting heavier.
Yes, they're not getting that much bigger. Like Novikov, when he won, he probably was one of the lightest guys.
130.
Maybe. So that's just crazy to win against all these like sort of bigger guys, And now Mitch Hooper, he's not that big either. Like he's 145. Probably at best.
But even it's the height, the size of the strongman. Like it doesn't even come to the weight. Like we see strongmen years ago. Like Phil Pfister was tall. Brian Shaw's tall. Said Big Z is 6'5", 6'3". Like I suppose he was on the smaller size for. But like Hafthor Bjornsson's 6'9". When you see these big guys, there was always a big belly.
Yeah.
There was never definition. There was never anything unless you had like Tom
Mariusz Pudzianowski.
Yes. Yeah, but he was an
outlier.
But
he was never able to win like Arnold Classic, because he tried to bulk up for it and he did look bigger. Just statically, he was never there in a way, But when it comes to repetitions and moving events, he was just a supreme athlete.
With the athletes nowadays, and I think Mitchell Hooper especially, like I think Mitchell is a serious driving force for bringing the scientific background into it. Like we see like some coaches and things like that, they're obviously experienced strongmen and they go in to do coaching, and then you have the other side of it then where said there's just coaches who have a scientific background but no athletic, or not athletic as such, but strongman experience. And I think Mitchell at the moment was in the middle, because obviously he has all these degrees behind him for all these physiology and stuff like that. Like he's very well trained as such, as in experience with a college, and when it comes to master's degrees and things like this. But now he has the backing of like world's strongest man title. He's been unbeaten in the Arnolds. Like I think he's in a very good place, and I think people kind of look up to that as in saying that, right, strongman is not just about lifting weights anymore. Like it's about being thorough about being thinking about it as such. Like you don't just go in and try break your back ego lift and trying to lift weights.
But you say that, but then we see how Mitch Hooper is training, and he's constantly trying to push his body like to the limits, and that's what's scared. That for the last 2 years that he's been winning, and like, okay, he lost World's Strongest Man, but before that he was winning pretty much all the competition,
podium, nearly everything.
Yeah. So, and you look at his videos, and he's constantly in shape. I don't know how
it's physically possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
How his body didn't fall apart. Yes, like even now, if you look at his recent videos, he still looks kind of in shape.
I couldn't get over as well that he said that, like, when he went from, say, doing the bodybuilding to being strongman, he went from 190 pounds as a, say, bodybuilder to 330 pounds as a strongman in the space just less than 2 years.
Yeah,
like
I
that's so much weight to put onto the body. I know obviously you're 190 pounds on the stage.
But again, he started to come onto the scene when he turned 25, and we know by now that at 25 you fully develop. So that's the you.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, so maybe that's what happened. Something ticks in the body, just deciding to sort of get into that strength dominance era for, like, I don't know, 10 years if you're lucky enough not to get injured, so I think that's what's happening with Mitch Hooper. And from what I understand and from what I hear, he's not planning to staying in strongman for a very long time.
Again, he even said recently that he's hoping to do strongman for obviously a while. He doesn't want to go out on an injury. He wants to go out, say, when he wants himself, like, on a high. But even he said afterwards, then he thinks when he retires from strongman, he'd like to do long drive golf.
Long drive golf?
Yeah. Okay. So that's what he wants to do, become a pro long driver.
Yeah.
So look, he has obviously an idea.
I remember Big Z was telling me the same thing. He wanted to retire, I believe, when he was 34, 33.
Well, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. And I was like, really? You want to retire by the time you're 30? I was like, yeah, I want. Like, I was like, how come? It's like, look, my body is sore all the time. He says, I'm tired. I was like, I think I'm done. Like, and then you meet him next year.
Oh, I'm back again.
Yeah, he's back again. I was like, dude, I thought you like.
Nah,
it's He's like,
But is it fair to say that if Big Z, say, as he was growing up doing strongman, if it was a scientifically based or as athletic based now, do you think he would have had a better career?
I think he's like
I know his career was good and stuff, but would you think it would have been?
You think that, like, I think Big Z is a very smart guy. He talks to a lot of doctors. He gets a lot of procedures done, but the thing is, people don't know that because he doesn't show any of that, But every week or every, like, twice a month at least, he goes to doctors, gets certain, let's say, injections, scans, tests done, Like, people just don't see that because Big Z doesn't feel that there's a need for him to tell the public of what's going on in his life. He used to do that a lot on his Instagram, even now I think he's after quieting down a little bit. But he does really look after his body, and especially the doctors in Lithuania are pretty good. Like, I even had to go a couple of times.
They're Irish ones, yeah.
Yeah, so in Ireland, sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. That's a different topic altogether. But when you go to Lithuania, doctors are really, especially guys who treat athletes, they really care to help you. And I think it's that's why Big Z was
so dominant,
and he had such a big longevity in the sport.
And you see now as well that, like, obviously America, with the serious amount of athletes it has coming through, like, and I think America is starting to see that now, that, like, obviously it's the sport. You have to treat them like athletes. So, like, as well as that, you see, like, a lot of change as well. Like, we see Thomas Evans, he was in American football. he's gone over now to that kind of, like, you know what I mean?
Still-
They're putting it as an actual strength sport,
yeah.
which is good to see.
It
Like, it's
is,
not just a hobby that
Yeah.
say people do, which I think the sport needs to cement itself as an actual athletic sport, like a strength sport. Like.
Yes.
So it's not just you go drink a couple of beers in the week and we do strongman on the weekend.
Yeah, like
eat a couple of burgers.
I think it used to be like that, and it was when it was like that. I think it was easier for Big Z to win as well, because I think he started to take the sport seriously, and Lithuania was never a very sort of a super wealthy country, and when he started competing in 2000s internationally, you know, and start winning
the big
competition.
Yeah.
So when you win, like for example, Arnold Classic, you
8
win
times.
a Hummer,
Yeah.
a car. So and you sell it, and you like you sell it for like $30,000-$40,000. It's like it's decent money. You can buy stuff for that money in
That's
Lithuania.
nice money.
Yeah, it was really nice money. So he was kind of like realized it's like actually it's like a business thing now for him, and the other guys didn't really take that.
That's
sport.
20 years ago.
Yeah. So they didn't take that sport seriously. He was never a big like after party guy. He never sort of went out and abused his body with alcohol or.
So he was being an athlete.
Yeah, he was really smart about it, and I think that's what kind of like helped him as well to have that long career. I think if you like do strongman and then you try to live that lavish nightlife, you know, afterwards, it doesn't work. I know that I had to stop drinking alcohol when I was like 24. Because I made a decision saying like, I'm 5'10" guy, I'll be competing against the giants. So these actually guys can get away with having like
the higher body fat. They can hold the weight stronger.
And I can. So I had to sacrifice a lot of like things like when it comes to like I don't know, partying and stuff like that. That had to go out the window.
Yeah, but even I see now, like when you hear talking about say competitions, like you were a very athletic mindset. You were very focused. See, that's what I'm trying to say is that like. When it comes to strongman, I think from what you hear stories years ago and you see the way things were competed, like obviously during the 80s and 90s it was going to be just
it was
you go lift the weights and then you come back. But now like so much focus on rehab and things. Like I even see yourself and Marius, like say after you're competing or after training, like you focus a lot on rehab, and I think that's the kind of mindset that strongmen need to be in to actually for the sport to be top level sport.
I think they are, and there's more like blood works being done, and there's so much good information on YouTube, on online, you know, like the same like Stan Efferding. He's such a knowledgeable guy. Like if you like 2 hours of 40 minutes was so pure knowledge.
Yeah,
it's like it's so good. He tells everything how he learned and how he changed his views, and he made mistakes, and admittedly though like he set up his I think a lot of world records when he was 45.
In his 40s,
yeah, like I'm 41. I don't want to set anymore. I think I'm like done setting up like world records.
Yeah.
And this guy maybe he didn't push his body like I think when you're a strongman you really push your body, and if you're not careful you can age pretty fast, like you know.
So we went on a couple of tangents, I suppose, in the video, but the main topic of the video was basically just to see is strongman an athletic sport now? Like is it a more scientific back sport? Is it going in the right direction, I suppose, of like being a proper sport? And I think we could agree it is.
Yeah. Like
we said before, we mentioned with the blood work, you mentioned like the way rehab is done, the therapy and stuff afterwards. I think like strongman is in a really good place now. People probably out there are still thinking, strongman is just you eat big food, lift big weights.
Can't do that anymore.
You can't do that anymore. We just want to know, like, what's your opinion at home? Do you agree with what we're saying? Do you think strongman is in a really good place when it comes to being, I'd call it a scientific back sport now at this stage? And I think when it comes to the likes of powerlifting, it's well, you know, like working on RPEs, and you're talking about rehab, and you're talking like it's very scientific, and I think that's a very good place. But obviously, let us know at home what you think. Do you agree, or do you just think the strongman should just be the way it was and just smash a load of food and smash a load of weights? Either way, if you like this kind of video, make sure to press the like button. If you're obviously new to the channel, make sure to press subscribe. Come
on.
Yeah. If you're new to the channel, make sure to press the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, make sure to press the bell icon. It'll keep you up to date with everything that's Lalas Brothers. And we'll see you in a future video.
See you later, guys.